Ted's got a question for you.
Okay, this is your gross pay for a year ago on the 28th of February. And here's your gross pay for this year, for a 2-week period.
Mhm.
This represents a 10% increase. Was that, what was?
They gave me that extra money for risk manager, for doing the duties of risk manager.
Who was they?
It was in the budget that they signed off on,
And it was effective
That
when?
was
January 1st.
last year's budget then?
Yeah, it was in last year's budget. that
So I
was
couldn't
signed.
find it in there.
It was in that. So what she did is she gave me the 3% raise and then she added that on.
And how much was that?
It was $3,000 a year. Well, it was, if you look on this, it was all broken out, right here. Which she added the 3% in, which I didn't do, we only did the 3. This was signed and approved. That's what
Okay.
it,
So that was because of the risk management?
Yep.
And it was a flat 3,000?
a year.
That was on, by the budget on last year, right?
Yes, that was.
Yeah, that was
signed
last
in
year's
October.
2015 budget.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I was calculating everybody's up, and everybody got a 3% increase in this period. You had a
Well, mine was the 3.
10%.
Well, it does the 3 and then the extra 3 per year as well. I didn't do the 3% on 3,000, I only did it on less than.
Oh,
Okay, and in my defense, I was hearing you, talking about vacation sick. I have nothing to do with payroll.
yeah.
I don't see when they do vacation sick. If a check comes in my office, I don't know if it's salary, if it's vacation, that's all done in her office. That all shows up on their stub, not on the paychecks that I sign off. Furthermore, when I sign a check, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm saying the funds are there for it to clear the bank.
Okay. So you don't really, so in other words, so you're not really a person that keeps track of who should get something and who shouldn't?
I have no, that's all done in the payroll. They submit the vacation, the sick over there, and that's all done on the paycheck. When I get the paycheck, all it shows is it comes out of general fund, it's
So you
the
would,
dollar amount.
so you'd assume that the amount would be correct?
Well, I have no,
Yeah.
Yeah.
for me to question it, it's not my department to watch over the payroll.
That's interesting, because I do remember when I was reading through the pleadings in the case entitled State versus Roger Slotman. You were the one that alerted them about the $900 that he was not supposed to get.
And that's because,
Because of what? Apparently you just got through saying that you
no,
don't pay attention to what people are paid.
well, I don't pay attention to their salary. I don't know what people
Then why
get.
did you think Roger Slotman did deserve the $900?
I didn't say he didn't deserve it. Here's what happened is Teresa was the emergency manager. She was trying to balance all the FEMA funds because they were getting audited. So I printed out all the expenditures, revenues, gave it to her because she was trying to balance it. She told me if any checks come in or out of that fund to let her know. I called her that day and I said, there's a $900 check here coming out for FEMA, and she was unaware of it. Because the fund number's on there. I record to take it out of the general, so I balance at the end of the month. So when the fund's on there, I can tell my check comes out of general. So I take it out of general.
So
Is it right, is it wrong? I don't know, because that's not my department as far as that. I didn't know if that was right or wrong. She just asked me if any money comes out of that FEMA, what was it, 2010, I think, to let her know. Well, that check came through, so I told her about it. Because they were saying how some of the FEMA bills weren't being signed off, they were getting paid, they weren't being signed off, whatever.
Oh, okay. So in that particular case, because I remember being here on, I believe, October 3rd of last year, and I came into the auditor's office, and you were covering the auditor's office as well as your own office,
Well, I was answering her phone and stuff because they were gone,
which, and you told both Leo and I, and I have a video, that Heather Martin hadn't been there all week. So I'm just curious, I guess you don't necessarily care about connecting the dots. In other words, here's somebody hadn't been here 6 months, and they had just put in for 6 days of sick leave that by the manual they're not supposed to get. So you didn't notice that.
I don't see that. I do not see if she got, I see her paycheck. I didn't know that if she got it out of sick leave, out of vacation. I don't see that. I couldn't tell you how many vacation or sick days. That's all in the auditor does all the payroll. I see the check, and I see it comes out of general, this dollar amount, and I have to signing it saying the funds are there for this check to go through the bank.
Okay.
But other than that, I don't know if her paycheck, 30 hours came out of sick, 20 out of vacation.
Well, I just thought it was
I don't-
interesting that somebody that hadn't been here for 10 days, you didn't seem to have any problem signing a check over to them for the same amount as if they had been here.
Yeah, but I didn't know if she was taking it out of sick or if she was taking it out of
She hadn't been
vacation.
here even 6 months. She had
Yeah,
been
but
here
she
5
gets-
months.
She gets a day a month of sick.
She does not until she's been here 6 months. Read the manual.
The sick leave is so many hours a month
It's 7 hours a month, but it
Okay.
only starts.
after
The
the first
employee
month.
is eligible, no, it does not start the first month. It says right here, employee is eligible, the eligible employee classification may have sick leave after successful completion of the introductory period. The introductory period is 6 months, which means that a person is not eligible for sick leave until 6 months is there. So have you been granting sick leave to people in your own office
I don't,
that have been here less than 6 months?
I guess I understood it was, I guess I really don't know if I,
So if we went back and looked at the person that used to work for you and go through the payroll records for her and the sick leave records for her for the previous, for 6 months. Yeah. For 6 months, for the 6 months from the time they start, you're gonna find, we're not gonna find it where you paid somebody, or allowed somebody to collect sick leave when they were not entitled to.
but honestly, I think this was because when they start after a month, I think the computer adds on like 3.5 hours after each pay period. So I
Well-
suppose it shows on their stuff that they got the 7 hours.
Yeah, well, she wasn't entitled to 8 days of sick leave after 5 months under any circumstances, because that would have been, according to the formula there, you're not entitled to any sick leave for 6 months, and then thereafter, you start accruing it at a 1 day per month basis. So that means if you'd been here 5 months, you wouldn't have any. But if you were here 6 months, or 7 months rather, you would have 1 day. Those first 6 months don't count. That's what the manual does.
Well, but on vacations the same way. I always thought you had to be here, your anniversary date, you get your, and they've been prorating them out, so on vacation days too, I always thought, okay, you're here a year, or let's say after 2 years, you get what, 3 weeks or 2 to 7 years, you get 3 weeks? I thought you had to finish the second year before you got those days. Well, obviously, you're accumulating them up to that, so I always thought the manual was the other way too, until they started prorating
In
it.
the 7, you get 20 days.
Right. But see, I thought after, you couldn't even start the 2 weeks until you're here 2 years on your anniversary date, then you get your 2 weeks. Well, now that, you guys are prorating them up, even if they didn't meet their anniversary, to the days they were accumulating, so, I mean, I misunderstood that on vacation too, because I thought you had to be here your anniversary. And I think in the past, I always thought it was done that way. You don't get those
I'm not
extra.
talking about vacation, I'm talking about sick.
But I'm just saying, it's,
Yeah. Well, that's-
maybe
I
it
mean,
needs to be
I
more
mean, this-
clarified, our whole policy
Clarify,
manual.
employees are eligible for classification may use sick leave after successful completion of an introductory period.
But honestly, I think they
Couldn't
thought
be
they were
plainer.
there a month, they got 7 days, and
To be frank with you, you're the treasurer, you're supposed to be watching after,
I watch mine.
you're in a fiduciary capacity to watch and guard over our funds. And the fact that you don't even know the rule book all goes to this issue of having a human resource director here that can safeguard about potential abuses on sick leave and vacation and other issues.
There's no doubt that we need to keep a tight grip on this stuff, but I heard the complaints for years that so-and-so isn't showing up and the department head was allowing it, and.
Well, that's another issue, yeah.
Right, and that happened for years, and a lot of people, including me, were not very happy about that, but policing that was a difficult thing. It's up to each individual department head and ultimately the auditor and the board to do what we can to make sure that, we're not, hey, punch in for me, I'm not gonna, I'm running to whatever.
Well, that's why that thing you were talking about with the camera and the clock
Right, right.
is,
So,
yeah.
you know, we can't cover every base, but we will need to cover them better than we have, no doubt, absolutely no doubt.